Ooh. Hello guys, my name's Calamity Joe. Welcome back to a new Minecraft YouTube live stream on the Calamity Joe YouTube channel. We are live on the Survival Legacy world today. I've got a couple of damaged holes to do from yesterday's stream because I put us on hard mode and I forget if a creeper comes near you and it tries to explode in this version while you're on hard mode, there's no stopping the creeper from exploding, so the creeper will just explode even if you're nowhere near them. So that is the aim of today. We need to repair. So let's go across here like this. Go and find some dirt. And I don't think there's anyone in this live stream right now, but if there is, I'm just gonna put this in the Minecraft in my channel stream thing. And then we're gonna go and start having a little bit of Minecraft. Hello Red Lord, welcome to the stream. Right, so let's quickly go down here like that. I want to grab 2 stacks of dirt. I think 2 stacks of dirt should be enough to complete what I want to do. How are you, Red Lord, by the way? Hello, David. Welcome back to the stream. Right, let's go this way, guys. And we're going to go out and commence some damage. And it's about to become nighttime. Of course, the moon starts to rise. Exactly when we're coming out here to do this. I have not... How'd FIFA go? That was a fun stream. That was a fun stream. But there's not much I can do in the first season. There's not much... When we're doing like FIFA, for example, there's not much I can do in the first season. Because there's not much I can do in the first episode. Doing good. I'm making a skip for Christmas. I've got people voice acting for it, so... You know it's going to be peak. Cool. When I'm sick today. Yeah. I'm just cold, guys, today. I'm just cold. It's actually... For me, it's... Because it's pushing into winter time now, it's actually quite cold. So I've got a warm cup of tea next to me. I'm going to go around and start looking for any of our other damaged shit that we've got. All my armor is about to break, so I can do without having a battle of creep. I can do without having a battle of creepers right now. Fortunately for us at the moment, there is nothing. There is none around us. It's nice here. It's about 10 degrees Celsius. Cool. Yeah, I don't know what it is for me. For me, it's about For me, it's about 6 degrees, guys. Hello, the Butler family. Welcome to the stream. I am gonna quickly go and get some cobblestone from somewhere. I need to replace some cobblestone there. So, but because it's night time, I'm going to quickly hop into here. Could I sleep in here? There's a monster nearby. We just gotta... There we go. That kind of worked. Hello, Baby Eater 173. Welcome to the stream. That's a good tea. Well, yeah, welcome everybody. I'm just gonna finish my cup of tea a second. Hello, Elmo Fire. Welcome to the stream. Thank you to the people who subscribe, by the way. Just going to finish that cup of tea. There we go. Have a cuppa, as we say in the UK. Have a cuppa. Well, cup of. It's cup of, but in slang it's cuppa. Cup of tea. I love a good cup of tea. Beautiful. Cup of tea. A couple of biscuits would have been nice, but I don't currently have some biscuits. So... Yeah. So, everybody, we're having a really, really good stream today. Joe, couldn't tune in during FIFA. I was playing bingo with my family. Cool. I mean, bingo's a great game. I think we can get rid of the staircase here. Like, it doesn't go down to anything anymore. I made the river wider. There used to be a house here. I'll DoorDash you some biscuits. No. No, thank you. But that's a lovely offer. Right, we're going to go and redo this. So, this hill used to be a little... This hill's a bit... this hill here is a little bit... Hello, EduCraft. Welcome to the stream. That's alright. It was a fun FIFA game. We beat... it was a fun FIFA game. So, when I did the... When I said a couple of days ago that we were going to do this FIFA... when I said a few streams ago that we were going to do a series called Forfeit FIFA, I set all the challenges up. So one of the challenges was that we had to win the Caribou Cup. We're probably going to redo that stream because not many people saw it. Not many people saw that stream. So we'll probably redo it. What's with the tax raises that Reeves? I don't know because I don't pay tax. I don't pay tax at the moment. I don't pay tax at the moment because I'm not working at the moment. Because I'm not currently working at the moment, I don't pay tax. But the thing is, with that, what it is you know how you Americans have a US shutdown because you can't agree a bill, because you can't agree a budget. No, actually, with streaming, I have to file a US tax. My tax from YouTube would technically go to the US government. So technically, the money that I get from YouTube comes from America. So technically, I've got to apply to. I've technically got to apply to the US tax. So, which is kind of wrong, really, because YouTube's got if you're doing a YouTube video, you've got to stay true to. Let me think a second. Top 2 premieres. Yeah, what was I going to say? In the Chelsea are a good team. Everton have a good record against Chelsea, actually. I always love when Everton play Chelsea because Everton have quite a good record against Chelsea over the years. Over the years, Everton always have a good record against Chelsea. So even though Chelsea are the best team on paper, Everton have beaten them a lot over the years. Everton have a really nice record against Chelsea. Like, we beat them. When did we beat them? When did we last beat them? Last season? Or season before? No, we drew with them last season. Ah, the season before we beat them 2-0. Chelsea played awful in that game. Like, they couldn't kick a ball. Everton beat them 2-0. A 20-year-old striker that who scored his first goal. The thing is, though, that's the same with Everton, though. Sometimes Everton lose the games that you expect them to lose. Sometimes Everton win the games you expect them to lose, and then don't win the games that you expect them to win. Like, well, the thing with Barcelona, though, you've got to think with that game, Barcelona were good up until Barcelona were all right defensively until they got. Barcelona were all right defensively until they lost Araujo. Barcelona have some good players. Like Lewandowski, I really like. I've liked him for years. Even when he was at Bayern, I really liked Lewandowski. Barcelona do have some good players. Like I think some of Barcelona's players are pretty good, but losing a player to Red and then having to play 60 minutes is a real challenge. So, and I'm saying that as my team Everton had a player sent off on the 13th minute against Man United the other night, and we somehow won 1-0. But Everton did it, but it's very rare it happens. That's only happened 4 times in the Premier League era. Liverpool did it against Everton in 2006. Steven Gerrard got sent off on the 20th minute. Liverpool did it against Newcastle a few years ago. Got a man sent off and then somehow won. Chelsea did it against West Ham, where they were a goal down and they lost a player and they somehow won 4-1. Yeah, so Barcelona though, playing 60 minutes in a Champions League match with a red card against a team that's really in form. The thing is, I really like what Enzo Maresca's done with Chelsea. Enzo Maresca, I really like what he's done with Chelsea. You know, he's basically built a whole new team. He's basically built a really young team. I had a look the other day at Chelsea's squad when they were playing their last Premier League match when they beat Burnley the other day. Chelsea had they only had one player in their squad over the age of 27. But yeah, I will be back in a second. I'm back, guys. Sorry, I just had to. Yeah, Chelsea ain't going to win the Prem. Like, Chelsea ain't going to win the Prem. I think it's Arsenal's to lose. Like, at the moment, let me look at the league table for a second. At the moment, Arsenal are six points ahead of Chelsea. They are 7 points ahead of Arsenal. Sorry, they're 7 points ahead of Man City. I mean, they're 8 points ahead of Villa. They're 9 points ahead of. They're 9 points ahead of Yeah, at the moment they're 9 points ahead of Palace. No, 8 points ahead of Palace. They're 9 ahead of they are 9 ahead of Brighton, Sunderland, Bournemouth, and they're 11 ahead of Tottenham, Man United, Liverpool, Everton. So I think I think this year will be Arsenal's to lose. I think Arsenal are winning it this year. I kind of want Arsenal to win it though. I mean, obviously, I want Everton to win the Premier League, but I just don't think that's possible. But Crystal Palace are a good team. Bro, I just need a shout out. Hello, Carpona. I will give a shout out when we hit. I'll give a shout out when we hit 100 views on the stream. I will hit a shout out when we hit 100 views on the stream. Palace are a good team. Well, Palace are a good team when they choose to be. Palace are a good team, but when they choose to be. So they got to the Palace are a really good team, but only when they choose to be. Joe doesn't love me anymore. What? I will be back in a second. I am back. Sorry, my dad called me. He was asking me for a question. Right. Thank you to the people who've subscribed. We're 3 subs off 100, of 7,400. I don't remember coming up to my bedroom in the house, but we did, apparently. Hello, Joaquim Castle. Welcome to the stream. Joe, y'all have no chance. I have no chance. Joe, what's the 3 city numbers on the back of my card? 666. Devil. Yeah, I thought you were the devil. Be back in just a second. There we go. Hi, Mum. Wow. I don't know. Where is it at? Is it at Chelsea or is it at... Where is it at, Red Lord? Is it at Everton or is it at Chelsea? I haven't looked at them. I haven't looked at the match dates yet for... Right, the next game is Everton at Newcastle at home at 5:30. Everton then play on Tuesday the 2nd at 7:30. So that's going to be on Amazon then, because the 7:30 every game's at 7:30, so that means Everton are going to be on Amazon. Then the next game is generally going to be, yeah, it's at Chelsea. Everton play Nottingham Forest on the 6th. If Everton, I want Everton to be able to win that Nottingham Forest game, to win that Bournemouth game and Burnley game. 9 points, that would give Everton 27 points. Everton would have 27 points then, and I want Everton to get to 40 points as soon as possible. I want Everton to get to... Played at Chelsea. Yeah. I don't know. I've underestimated Everton before, not again. Yeah. Tell you what Everton is, Oraway. This is what I'll explain it. Red Lord and Oraway. This is what I'll explain it. Everton is the sleeping giants that when you piss them off, the gloves come off. Everton is the sleeping giant, but when you piss them off, the gloves come off. That is a great quote, guys. It is. So when Everton got a points deduction. Everton got a points deduction one season. So one season, Everton got a points deduction, and then suddenly they lost the first game with the 10 points deducted, and then they suddenly won the next 4 in a row. They beat Nottingham Forest. They beat Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Burnley. They won 4 in a row. They then drew with Arsenal, Chelsea. They then drew with Arsenal, drew with Manchester City. They drew with someone else. A Redstone lift. Yeah, Everton are the sleeping giant, guys. But when you piss them off, the gloves come off. So, do you get what I mean? It's I love it. So I remember a kid who was went to the same school I did. He said to me this. He went, the problem with Everton is that on their day they just do damage. When Everton turn up and they just do. Well, technically lift and elevator mean Technically, lift and elevate. Technically, lift and elevate mean exactly the same thing. Elevate yourself, lift yourself. Both of them do exactly the same thing. Yeah, but it's called a lift. Well, yeah, it's called a lift in the UK, but then in America it's called an elevator. But elevate and lift mean exactly the same thing. So technically, no one's wrong because technically it's the same. It means the same thing. Joe, make a poll. Yeah, make a poll. Elevate. Start a poll. Lift or elevate? Hold on, guys. I can't spell elevate. I can't. Can someone type elevate into the chat quickly? Because I can't spell it. So, okay, thank you. Elevate. There we go. I just put lift or elevate. So, yes. So, lift. Elevate. Lift or elevate. Author. Yeah, there's some words I can't spell, but if I'm ever writing a book, I would say lift. So, elevate is a... I just couldn't remember how to spell it. I couldn't. I put L. I put ELA vator. So elevator. It's elevator. Because the pronunciation says Ella. Here we go. Lift or elevator, and at the moment 6 votes. Lift, 7 votes now. No, yes, no, 50. Now it's 57-43. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Right, I'm back. Sorry, I was called again. I've been called a lot. Now it's 40. Now it's 44-55. I can't vote, so I can't give you a vote. I can't give one a vote. Joe, I'm great. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. 2 people commented that. David, you're promoted to mouth kissing. There's some really weird comments in this stream today. Please post the US link for your Amazon books. Oh, it's on the stream. I thought it's on my YouTube community tab. I could put... Mr. Cabino wanted it. Okay, yeah. Just give me a second. I've got to go and type it in. It's so cold right now, guys. My feet are freezing. Literally, the floor is cold. Despite the fact that I'm on a rug. The Dawn of Planets. Dawn of Planets, the attack from space. Then I've probably got to put my name in. Nope, the book pops up. For me it does. I have dropped the Kindle prices a little bit. Right here, book 1 of 4, Dawn of Planets. And it does say further down, guys, related to the series, there is a prequel that you guys can look at. It's a prequel called The Witches of Glees. It takes place before the attack from space, but it's better to read it before, in between Attack from Space and Vengeance. Here's a link. How do you add text to your streams? I'm using OBS. Sorry, I'm not being able to come back to the FIFA stream. That's right. I didn't end it I ended it not that long afterwards. Right. So there is the book link. That's the Amazon book link, the American one. Oh, is it in the Discord? I can put it in the Discord. American Amazon link for Dawn of Planets book series, ebook and paperback. So if you click a button, guys, you can decide paperback or ebook. Let's let in have a look at them. And it is in the Discord server. It is in the Discord server. But it also is on my community tab as well. You can't click it on phone. You can't click it on phone, but you can click it in my community tab. But I'll pin it in my Discord server. I'm gonna put it in the general chat on my Discord server. You're on a 16 stream streak. He is a troll. You accuse them of being a beta tester, but they can't talk about it because it's some NDA. Well, hello, Denies. Welcome to the stream, poor Joe. Yeah, it's in my Discord server, but it's also in my community tab. You have good news. Cool. Yeah, it annoys me because I've got to post links twice. So if you're on phone, I've got to post a link somewhere else so you guys can see them. I got some great news. I got 3. On what? Your grades? Oh, you hit 35 subscribers. Congratulations. Congratulations. Wait, who won? Elevator or lift? It's currently 13 votes. It's 62%. It's currently 62%. No one's won yet because the poll's not ended. No one's won yet because officially the poll's not ended. Thank you for the stream donation. That's really kind. That's really kind of you, David. Officially, you are now first in the list. Let's have a look at these. So it's currently 13. Yeah, let's end the poll. So yeah, elevators won. But I will always call it lift because I'm British, guys. So 62% elevate, 38%. So if it was a US election, the 38% would have won probably. And the 62% would have been told that their votes don't count. I'm joking, right? I'm joking. Anyway. Right, so I thought we'd have a hop along the world today. A hop along the world today. I thought we'd have a hop along the world today. We're going to hop into this house. We're going to eat some cake. And then boom, boom, boom. Do, 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 do. So yeah, the link is there. Is Mr. Cabino in the Discord server? I thought he was. Yeah, Mr. Cabino was in the Discord server. So I'll put it in the general chat, Mr. Cabino. Yeah. I'm building a Minecraft house right now. Cool. You're coming out of your shell, guys. That's good. It took me years to do that. America first, Brit later. Actually, it should be Britain first, America later, because Britain's 2,000 years older than America. The first mention of Britain in British history, the first mention of the island of Great Britain in historical books is 6,000 years ago. Which is an incredible piece of history. Maybe we can do it. We make this shit look good. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, Great Britain is the first mention of Great Britain in historical books is from the ancient Greece. 6,000. The first mention of Britain in history books they think is 6,000 years ago. You got to think 6,000 years ago, guys. Like, where was I 6,000 years ago? I was probably, well, I wasn't here. But I wasn't. Your only good Prime Minister was Winston Churchill. I wouldn't say that. Great Britain had lots of good Prime Ministers. Did us Brits make English? Well, the English made the English, the Scottish made the Scottish, and the Welsh made the Welsh. The Irish made the Irish. Because English is a mix of French. English is a mix of French and of Anglo-Saxon, which the Anglo-Saxons came from what is now Germany. So I was watching a historical documentary the other day about World War II. And there's something really interesting. You can tell that German and English are so similar because there's a clip of Hitler talking about what Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 33rd president of the United States, you could tell what he was saying. You could tell what he was saying just from it was because all the German names for all the countries are exactly the same as the UK's. Norway, you can tell he's saying Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Britain. And yeah, so what it was is Franklin Delano Roosevelt sent an ultimatum to Churchill not to attack these countries: Denmark, Sweden, Britain, Luxembourg, Belgium, France, the Soviet Union, and all of them. That's not my mum, guys. That was my sister talking to herself. Because my sister chanters to herself while she's doing anything, because she basically because no one will listen to her talking about video games. How do they going? Am I being an annoying viewer just in general? Well, yeah. Yes, my mum. If I'm streaming, my mum will be doing something around the house, and she doesn't really care what I'm streaming. My sister doesn't understand that stuff. Well, she does understand that I'm streaming, but she doesn't understand that no one wants to hear her talking to herself. Am I being an annoying viewer? I wouldn't say you're being annoying. I wouldn't say you're being annoying. Like, there's far more annoying people that I've had on my streams. I once had someone that demanded that I played Minecraft with them. If I didn't, they were unsubbing. They were unsubbing and reporting my stream. Has her hearing been tested? Well, her hearing's fine. It's just that she talks to herself. Her hearing's fine. It's just the fact that she talks to herself because she doesn't like them. She doesn't like that people don't listen to what she's saying. So talking to herself is like talking to herself, because she will always listen to herself. If you talk to yourself, that someone will always listen, apparently. Well, you can't deport me because you can't deport me because we're not in the same country. In fact, because I'm generally a British citizen, I think I could probably deport you. That's true. Why would you? But also Joe is British in Britain. Yeah, Joe is British in Britain. Joe is the ultimate British male. I've been called that. My uni lecturer once called. Have you ever listened to Lady Sovereign? I haven't. I don't even know who that is, to be honest. My uni lecturer once called me the most British man I know. You're the most British. You're the most British person I know, and I'm staunchly British. Let's just say. Joe is the alpha Brit. Yeah, she had some success in the UK. Yeah. Well, some British singers do have a lot of success in the United States. British success. The thing is, America and Britain are so similar. If you take off in Britain, you'll take off in America. The only difference is some British films never take off in America. So, like, Wallace and Gromit, I think should have won won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, and Jason Isaacs, who was there, was a guest on some of the British coverage of the Oscars. He turned around and said to Jonathan Ross, who presents the British coverage of the Oscars, when they cut away at the Oscars, that it always goes back to Jonathan Ross, who's sat in the UK watching it, and basically Jason Isaacs, who played Draco Malfoy in Draco Malfoy's dad, Lucius Malfoy, in the Harry Potter films, and played Tavington in The Patriot. He said Wallace and Gromit. He said Wallace and Gromit wouldn't win the Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul wouldn't win Best Feature at the Oscars because it's quintessentially British, and the American people wouldn't vote for a quintessentially British film, and they ended up voting for a film with no dialogue and just cat noises, and I was like, what? I mean, it might have been a cool animation, but a feature film with no sound, a feature film with just cat noises, I'm like, what? And I'm like, I think it should have been Wallace and Gromit myself. We took out the Queen. I mean, America didn't take out the Queen. If they had tried to take out the Queen would have took out the president first, I think. The thing is, in fact, imagine if Queen Elizabeth II was very selfless. Literally, Queen Elizabeth II was very, very selfless. If she wanted to be an arsehole, she could have been. You know, she could have annexed the United States in 2016 when somebody asked her to stop Donald Trump from winning the US election. Someone actually asked her that. Literally, American people generally sent Queen Elizabeth II. American people generally sent her a letter asking her to annex the United States to stop Donald Trump becoming US president in 2016, and she sent a letter back really nicely and said, "Sorry, I can't do that." I don't think he'll be too bad. And those were only the radical ones. Well, he was radical. Well, I wouldn't say they were radical. I think they were more worried about somebody radical becoming president myself. But yeah, so they generally, the guy's letter to the Queen generally said we made a mistake in 1776 and now we've come to rectify. Now we have to rectify it. I'm like, I cracked up reading. I cracked up seeing that. I'm like, well, yeah. So somebody, an American citizen, generally wrote a letter to Queen Elizabeth II, asking. Not gonna lie, no matter the present, Queen Elizabeth II did actually have the power to do that. She could actually seize land if she wanted to, but she would never have. Queen Elizabeth the power had more power. Queen Elizabeth II had more power than any world leader in the world, but she never used it. So that's more impressive. That's. Yeah. Queen Elizabeth II was had more power under her glove than any ever head of state in the world, but she never used it. It's really interesting. Yeah. It's really interesting. That Queen Elizabeth II, yeah, she had so much power but never used it. Like, that's better though, because I can imagine there's a lot of world leaders in the world that probably would use such power. Hello, Defo Bear, welcome to the stream. Hello, Joachim Castle, welcome back. Oh, let me think of that. Let's have what it was. Give me a sec, guys. Sorry, a bit of hair just came out of my mouth. Yeah, officially, guys. Yeah, Queen Elizabeth was officially. Queen Elizabeth II was the most powerful head of state in the world, but never used a lot of the power that she had. Queen Elizabeth II could overthrow the government with a word. This is the interesting part. Like, Queen Elizabeth II, she could overthrow the British government if she wanted to. She could overthrow the British government. She could declare war with any country on the planet immediately. Google said this. No, yeah, but then it is true. She could actually do that. Well, with real political power, she does have political power. She could sack Keir Starmer today. She could sack the prime if necessary. She could just go and sack the prime. She could sack the prime minister. She has the power to do that. The monarch does have the power to do that. But the bit about the no real political power isn't actually true. That's a unwritten law. That's an unwritten law. The monarch does actually have the power to do that. She can technically overthrow the government. In fact, King Charles III, if he wanted to, he could actually walk into government. King Charles III could actually walk into the government. I don't know how to spell it. Well, you've nailed the spelling. King Charles III could walk into the Parliament today and decide that and dissolve the British government. And eventually, if he dissolves the British government, all the power he has the most. He could dissolve the British government today, and there wouldn't be any fuss because essentially all the power would be with him. But he would never do that. They would never do that. Basically, the Prime Minister is just a counterbalance. The Prime Minister is just a counterbalance to the Basically, if you get what I mean, the Prime Minister is just the counterbalance. Basically, the Prime Minister of the UK is just the counterbalance. It's designed to balance out power with the government. So the Prime Minister, the King and the Prime Minister are basically a counterbalance. So the Prime Minister stops the King from having too much power, but the King also stops the Prime Minister from having too much power. It's an interesting one. It's a perfect counterbalance. There can never be a dictator Prime Minister of the UK because the King can. There's another person more powerful than them, but the King can't be dictatorial because he knows there's someone under the British government is underneath can change that. So it's very much a counterbalance thing. It's very much a counterbalancing. No, they can. The monarch can go in. The Parliament chambers, the Prime Minister, the King can go in there. The reason they have that thing, the King has to be asked to entry, was because the reason they do that, in 1630, hello Guinevere K Love Minecraft, welcome to the stream. Because in 1640, was it 1640? In 1600s, the King overruled. But I just want to get this date right, guys. King James the Second. King James the Second. Oh shit! The bed. It's not. It's King Charles. It's King Charles the First. Here we go. King Charles III, he was King of England. King Charles III was King of England from 1625 till his death in 1629. Here we go. Religious going, Lord English captivity. No, long Parliament. Basically, Scotland was invading England at the time. Even though the King was king of both. So the King thought that five members of Parliament. Were colluding with them, so he went to arrest them, but the other members of Parliament refused to give him up. Because they 1642, yeah, because they refused to give them up. I knew it was 1640 something. They refused to give them up, so they closed the doors on him. And when they opened it up, he dissolved the Parliament. And it resulted in for 7 years. He didn't speak to them for 7 years, and it resulted in the English Civil War, guys. Which the English Civil War lasted for a few years. I can't. There was so many English Civil Wars at the time. I mean, the English Civil War lasted a long time. The English Civil War, guys, lasted 9 years. The English Civil War lasted 9 years. It lasted from 1642 to 1651, and it resulted with the King being beheaded in 1649. The King was beheaded in 1649, then his son took over. Ironically, from 1649 to 1660, England was a republic. It was known as the the Commonwealth of England. It was known as the It was known as the Commonwealth. Yeah. Minecraft is nearly 20 years old. Yes, I was 7 when Minecraft came out. So when Minecraft is 20 years old, I will be 27. So Minecraft is 20 years old in 4 years. But yeah, it's an interesting bit of history. And in fact, hello Viper Venom, welcome to the stream. If you get what I mean, guys, like there was so many different people that were involved in that war. Like, I love the history of that. I love that period of history. It resulted in 10 years later, after 11 years, which game is this again? Minecraft Legacy Console Edition, Nintendo Switch. After 11 years, they put the king back on the throne. So King Charles I, his son, Charles II, was on the throne. He was on the throne for 25 years. He was King of England from 1660 to 1685 when he died. Great bit of history. It was a great bit. It was a great bit, interesting bit of history. King Charles II, though, was unpopular. Was also unpopular. He was unpopular because of the Great Fire of London, where London burnt to a lot of London burnt to the ground. Yes, a lot of London burnt to the ground. Like, in fact, there was another Great Fire of London during the Second World War, which was much bigger, but they don't mention it. It's Pac-Man. I do Pac-Man. I'm joking, guys. That's a great joke. Oh shit! The bed, my beard just got stuck. I picked up an old shirt. I picked up a shirt off the floor that's fallen from somewhere, and a bit of my beard just got caught to it, and it tore out. That hurt. I said my beard. I said my beard. That was my accent. I said my beard. I said my beard got stuck to... A shirt fell off, and as I picked it up, my beard got stuck to something from it, so it yanked. That hurt. Why has America got so many troops? It's popping up here saying world waits to see if Trump will attack Venezuela. Why has America got so many troops around Venezuela for? Well, Venezuela. I know Venezuela's been under a dictatorship for like 26 years. They've had 2 presidents. Oh, yeah. But then, is that actually true though? Because it's alleged at the moment. But that's the same with Iraq. You know, America went into Iraq with absolutely... If you get what I mean, it's alleged at the moment. But is that actually true though, Red Lord? Because America went into Iraq on falsified information. You know, America went in like... In fact... This is where Great Britain don't like America. Great Britain don't like America because Britain were forced to wiretap the UN, and it got exposed 20 years ago that it got exposed 20 odd years ago that America forced Britain to wiretap the UN to secure a war with Iraq. Yeah, but that's the thing though. 20 years ago, in 2003, a British woman got arrested for espionage because she leaked a classified document that exposed America with pressure in the US into But how many people are going to get caught in the crossfire, if you get what I mean? Because, you know, Donald Trump's trying to stop everybody else from going to war and then risking one himself. Because I find that hilarious that he's basically tried to force Ukraine to sign a really unfair peace deal. And then, while simultaneously he's building up an army outside of Venezuela. But that's exactly what Russia did in Ukraine. They built up an army there for over a month before. And everyone practically knew that they were going to do it. Yeah, in fact, there's a real interesting part about that. Panama. When America invaded Panama, they ousted a dictator that they installed. Because he ignored what America said. America installed a lot of dictators back in the day. Yeah, so they said America's an interesting one. They claim other countries are doing shit like that, but then do it themselves. What was it? Panama. It's a really interesting Panama US invasion. Manuel Noriega, that's what it is. Manuel Noriega, president of Panama 6 years. President of Panama 6 years, but he was a It's an interesting one. The Panama's leader, who they ousted, they also got him into power. Is that actually a poor ass country though? Because America is a very interesting one. A lot of America and Britain are the two greatest allies, are two of the biggest allies. But Britain sometimes reign America in. It's interesting. The portal. I don't know. The thing is though, Venezuela, they've been under a dictatorship for 20 odd years. You know, in 2009, when it was in 2009, Venezuela's president at the time, who's dead now, his 2 terms was up, and then suddenly, just before the election, the term limits are scrapped, and then he becomes president again, and that's what happened in Russia as well. That we should just annex Venezuela. That would be wrong, though. That would be wrong, because. That would be wrong if America just went and annexed Venezuela, because that would be wrong. That would be like what's his name? That would be like exactly what Russia want to do in Ukraine. I don't think Venezuela is actually a poor country as well. I don't think Venezuela is actually poor. It is a poor country. It's one of the poorest. But as well, that's egged on by the fact that, you know, it is a government. It is, because just look at the average salaries. But is it the actual salaries though, Red Lord? Because, you know, every currency is different. So what I earn a month in the UK would look completely different to what an American earns. It's the ideology. Well, yeah. Well, that's because they've been under a dictatorship for 20 years. You know, Hugo Chavez, who was the president of Venezuela from 1999 to 2013, you know, he took over via military coup. He took over via coup, and then when his term limits were thing, the law got changed. I think that'd be the other way away. That would never happen though. I've seen a different one. That's only 43% though. The other 57% said they'd rather become British. That was an interesting one with Canada. Canada will never become a US state. Canada will never become a US state because it's still actually got a monarchy. Charles III is still the king of Canada, and they love the fact that they've got a monarch. It's a really interesting one, where Canada's got a really close relationship with the UK, because unlike some of the other countries that are no longer part of the UK, Canada got independence freely. They didn't fight for it. Yeah. Socialism bad, but socialism isn't bad. Socialism isn't bad, Red Lord. Communism and socialism are completely different. Communism isn't true socialism. What the Soviet Union was isn't true socialism. True socialism is where you have things like the UK is quite a socialist country. The UK is quite a socialist country where you have, you know, free healthcare. Everyone's looked after. That's true socialism. Whereas communism is not. It is social. It is socialist, but it's not true socialism. Yeah. But what true socialism is about protecting everyone. So the UK is a social country. The UK is quite a socialist country where, you know, everyone's health bills are collected, and, you know, people have personal freedoms. China, for example, China's communist. A touch of capitalist, but predominantly communist. It is interesting. The thing is though, if America was to annex Venezuela, then Donald Trump would be classed as a dictator as well, because it wouldn't be seen as democratic. That's why Chinese people are poor and struggling. Are they though? That's the thing. Are they? Because America don't like China. That's the thing. America doesn't like China because China's rivaling the United States as the richest country in the world. China is incredibly rich. They already call them, so what does it matter? But you can't invade another country, topple their dictator, and then go and topple their leader. If you topple their leader, great. If you topple a dictator, great. But taking the land afterwards that wouldn't be allowed. If America do that, they would face the same threat that what Europe gave Ukraine. If you gave them, Russia. Because that's what Russia wanted to do. Russia's plan was to go into Ukraine and try and topple Zelensky, because Zelensky was making things to be closer to Europe. The UK would do exactly what they did on thing. Yeah. Well, the USSR worked like that. But the USSR was more Leninism. Lenin took what some of Marxism and just invented his own stuff. Hello, friend. I'm from the UK. Cool. Welcome back. Yeah. That's never going to happen. The UN is designed to stop poverty and things like that, and stop stuff like that. Are you British? I am British, yeah. I don't agree with that, though. I don't agree with that. America needs to get their act together and stop trying to cause wars. That's what I thought Joe Biden did. That's actually what I thought Joe Biden did, guys. I actually thought Joe Biden's policy was to set the world alight. Ousting a dictator is a good idea, but you can't take the land after. You can't take a sovereign country afterwards. Because that's exactly that would make Trump exactly like Putin. Oh, we've ousted a dictator, and now let's take the country instead. Because it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, guys. And what I reckon would happen is you would just have. I reckon the Venezuelan groups that they think as terrorists would commence more attacks. That's what I think would happen. They would commence more and more attacks. They would just commence more and more attacks. So that's what I reckon would happen. What are you doing today? I don't really know. I streamed FIFA earlier on, and now I streamed this. That's what I think would happen. Pulling out of NATO is stupid, though, because NATO is a defensive alliance. Pulling out of NATO would just be useless, because what NATO is, guys, NATO is an alliance that if one is invaded, then they all fight, and then they will all come to each other's aid. So if America was invaded, Great Britain and everyone else within NATO would go to America's aid. NATO is mutually beneficial for each country. The UN is a good point. The UN is good, advocating for free, trying to rid the world of deadly diseases and things like that. The UN is a good idea. No. They wouldn't need NATO for Venezuela. But David commented further up saying that he's all in favour of the UN, the US leaving the UN and leaving NATO. Wait, Great Britain isn't a NATO member? I'm not saying NATO's not a member. I didn't say Great Britain was isn't a NATO member. Great Britain is a NATO member. But David said that he's all in favour of US leaving NATO. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. Sorry, I'm back. It doesn't require... What? No, Article 5 is a discussion. Article 5 is discussion. So, Poland went to Article 5 a few years ago because a Ukrainian... Yes, but Article 5 is more discussion straight away. Article 5 is a discussion. So they discuss it first. So the last time they went to Article 5 was Poland's because a Russian or Ukrainian rocket misfired and it landed on a farmer's field and killed somebody in Poland. And it turned out it was a Ukrainian missile that had hit a Russian inbound missile just north of the Ukrainian border. Bye, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Basically, it was a Russian. What had happened is a Ukrainian missile had shot down a Russian drone, and because it hit the drone, the crashing shell of the missile had gone across the border. Had crashed across the border into Poland, and it had hit someone. So, because they weren't aware, they went to Article 5, discussed it, and then they weren't going to do anything silly until they verify what's happened. So NATO, for example, NATO will only get involved. So say someone invades the United States. They will go into before they judge it. NATO would go into it. Before they judge it, NATO would discuss it. So if it was something along the lines of if it was something along the lines of America would have shot down attacked Mexico, so Mexico invaded. That's when NATO wouldn't get involved because it would be deemed as a retaliation of American aggression, and that's when NATO wouldn't get involved. So. But Great Britain Great Britain and the rest of NATO would get involved if it was unjustified aggression from Mexico, for example. But if the United States started it, that's when Mexico wouldn't get involved. So, for example, Great Britain were under fire a few years ago. Great Britain planned to raid Netherlands a few years ago to get COVID jabs because the European Union had seized COVID jabs going to the UK. But Boris Johnson scrapped the plan because he would have to justify. You can justify it though. With attacking NATO, you can justify it. But not get involved. NATO, if it says get involved with NATO, they would get involved. It's the same as the Five Eyes. Hey, can I ask you a question? Of course you can. It's the same with Canada, for example. As soon as the UK went to war with Argentina in 1982 over the Falklands Islands, because of the deals and the alliances they have with New Zealand, Canada, because of the alliances. If Russia attacked US, well, they would, because it would be an attack on a NATO country. It would be attack on a NATO country, so they would have to get involved by law. Any country that doesn't get involved would probably be forced out of NATO. So, for example, the Kosovo War of 1990, NATO got involved then. NATO got involved in the Kosovo War of 1999. I think America rained a lot of bombs there. Do I think they're right? No. No, because the human body needs meat, so it can't be right that God said you can't eat meat, because why would the human body need meat in its diet if God said no? If God said that. In fact, scientists want vegan shit taken off the menu due to the fact that humans need meat in their diets. So if you're a vegan and you're not eating a certain amount of nutrition, then it's not actually good for you. What if I donate $4.99? That's a lot of money to donate to the person's stream. Yeah, so what I mean, David, is basically Argentina invaded the Falklands Islands in 1985, but because of the deal New Zealand, Australia, and Canada had with the UK, they sent the army straight away. Even though New Zealand had to send the army, New Zealand sent the army, even though the New Zealand Prime Minister didn't agree with what was going on. The New Zealand Prime Minister didn't agree with what was going on in the Falklands with the UK and Argentina, but because of the deal, like the NATO alliance, they had to go. They had to send the troops. So they said yes, even though they disapproved. It's a really interesting point. But yeah, if America was attacked, NATO would have to get involved. Any country that didn't get involved. The only reason Great Britain hasn't got involved, the only reason NATO didn't get involved in Ukraine is the fact that the Ukraine is not a member of NATO. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, so they couldn't get involved. But yeah, if Russia did attack the US, then eventually they would get involved. Well, at first, if it was only one missile, for example, they would check first to see if it was an error, because that happened a few years ago. India accidentally fired a missile at Pakistan a few years ago, because they have a technical. What get involved means? Well, in my head, get involved means military action, because they're involved. If you say get involved, they don't just say send aid, because that's not getting involved. If you say go and get involved to someone in a football match, that doesn't mean stand on the sidelines, does it? That wasn't very good. But NATO, the foundations of NATO is, if someone invades NATO, everyone fights. That's why NATO exists. NATO was made to stop the Soviet Union invading all of Europe, because that's what their fear was. I actually think, guys, so the UK have a change in management. I don't know. But the thing is with NATO, guys, I actually think if we didn't have NATO, there would be a lot more wars and we don't want that. I think NATO is a perfect idea. How many countries want to go to war, but they don't want to go to war with NATO? Right, let's just get rid of a bit of this dirt a second, so we can repair that hole. Flexibility in response. The article is generally vague. Hello, welcome back. I do remember you. Of course I remember you. Well, this is it. Article 5 of the NATO Charter for the Article 5 for NATO. The article states that an attack on any member state should be considered considered an attack on all. That is it. So if boots go, if a NATO country is attacked, it's an attack on all of them. Which is why during the Kosovo War, what NATO got involved. NATO got involved in the Kosovo War, even though that they weren't parts. NATO got involved because of atrocities. I think. Obviously, a lot of people don't agree with that. I've met someone from Serbia that doesn't agree with that. He thinks that Kosovo's Serbian. And it's a really interesting point of history. So, like, Kosovo's a country, but some countries don't believe in it. Some countries do. It's incredible. Yeah, they're allowed to decide what their response is. So, whether they can... Because, some countries can't afford to go to war. Some countries don't have the armed forces. So Great Britain, if Canada was invaded, Great Britain would be straight over there. But NATO is vital. NATO is vital. NATO is vital for world peace. And well, so's the UN, really. Yeah, but sanctions work. Sanctions would work normally. Sanctions would normally work, but what Russia did was just Russia found a way to skirt the sanctions. Russia found a way to skirt the sanctions. So what the UK did recently is they captured Russian billionaires' properties that they owned in the UK. Yeah, well, that is true. But most leaders do care about their people because their people are the ones that put them into power. It's the same as but there are some world leaders that don't care about their people, of course. And I'd imagine how many world leaders care about their people actually care about the people of their countries. Because I guarantee more of them love their country, love their people. Because if you didn't love your people, you wouldn't run for office. You wouldn't run for office for them. That's an interesting one, though, David. Because that's a very American response. That's a very American style response, like Khamenei, Kim Jong-un, Putin. But you got to think, Putin's doing all this for Russia. Putin's doing all that for Russia, really. Putin, I would argue, is actually just loves Russia, loves his people. I would argue that's a very American propaganda statement. Like Kim Jong-un I would imagine Kim Jong-un loves the people of North Korea because they are his people, which is why he cried a few years ago stating that he could have been a better leader. Hello, Globeans, welcome to the stream. It's an interesting one. But you could say the same about the glory of Mother Russia. But Mother Russia isn't the land, it's the people. If you get what I mean. Like the UK is a motherland. The UK is called the motherland as well. And, the people of the UK love the people of the UK and they love Great Britain. It's not the people, it's a legacy. But you could say the same about Trump, though. I think Trump cares more about himself than the people of America, in a way. Because I think, good or bad, he just wants this presidency for him to be a legacy. Your word is almost 10 years old. Next August, yeah. The people are the legacy. That is true. That is true. People are the legacy. But then I said, you do have people that basically they just want to be remembered. You could even say the same about Hitler. Everything Hitler did was for Germany. Everything Hitler did was for Germany. He wanted to lead the Germans to victory. And it's the same as... It's an interesting one where even the most evil people... Even the most evil people some of the most darkest people start out with good intentions. It's like even some of the darkest people start out with good intentions initially. I mean, Hitler, for example, his intentions initially was to rebuild Germany, but he did that by an evil... Do you think Hakimi or Salah deserve the African Ballon d'Or? I think Osimhen. I think Osimhen did really well because he's obviously Nigerian. Mo Salah did really good, but Mo Salah did really good last season. But look at him now. Like he's been absolutely shocking this season. Kim Jong-un is evil, but yes, but also as well, in the eyes of the people of North Korea, he's a legend. It's the same with Stalin. It's the same with Stalin. To us, he was a monster. If you get what I mean. To us, Stalin was an evil monster that, jailed 20 million people, that executed 20 million people. But to people of Russia, he was legendary. And we will never understand the other half because, our media will always paint our media will always paint people as bad people. So that new guy that's taken over in Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, as soon as he took over, the UK was saying a former terrorist. America was, and the UK news thing was former terrorist takes over and thing, and he was, he was a member of Al Qaeda, but he left Al Qaeda because he didn't like what they were doing, and he created his own group that were tied to them. Can I join? What version of Minecraft are you playing? Because this is Legacy Console Edition, not the non-crossplay version. If you get what I mean. So yeah, I don't agree with that statement. Then America, yeah, if America topple a dictator, then yeah, good. But if America take the land afterwards, that's illegal. Yeah, the interesting thing about that though, David, as well, is FDR was willing to work with him. FDR was willing to work with Stalin, whereas Winston Churchill, FDR was willing to work with Stalin to win the war, and he was willing to do compromises with him, whereas Great Britain was dubious. Winston Churchill, for example, was really dubious of Stalin. And then after FDR died, they had Harry Truman come in, and Harry Truman was the same as Winston Churchill. He was dubious of Stalin. It's interesting. He was willing to work with him to secure peace in Europe, whereas Winston Churchill and Harry Truman were much more dubious of him. Like Winston Churchill hated communism. Winston Churchill said he would help a devil if... Joe, you're minging. Where's the line about... Oh, let me find that speech he said a minute. I know what he said. Winston Churchill on helping... Because he hated communism. Helping... Winston Churchill said something really specific. Any man or state who fights on against Nazism will have our aid. But he said something else. Something about the devil. He said something about the devil. If Hitler invaded hell, I would at least make a favourable reference to the devil in the House of Commons. So basically, he called the Soviet Union hell and said instead he would help the devil. He would make the devil seem favourable. So he was saying that Great Britain would help the Soviet Union defeat the defeats Nazi Germany because they were at war with them. But he still called Stalin the devil. That's the line I'm thinking of. Winston Churchill very much said that if Hitler invaded hell, he'd still help fight help the devil fight him, and he said he'd help the devil. So basically, he called Hitler hell, and he called Stalin the devil, which is a really interesting point, though. Like I said, yeah, Winston Churchill's statement is a really strong one. It's a really strong one what he said. Well, I don't know though, because communism isn't true socialism. What became communism was a mix of what Stalin and Lenin interpreted it as. And of course, Stalin was known to be heartless. Like, even his daughter said that. His daughter emigrated to the United States in 1968, and that's what she said. He was heartless. But Stalin was heartless for a reason. Stalin was heartless because his wife, his one true love, died. And then Stalin became colder after the death of his wife. So if you get what I mean, like, Stalin was a communist, but he was also a revolutionary. So Stalin didn't care. So, for example, millions of people were arrested when he died. Like, he arrested anybody. Like, there's a place in Russia. The Stalinists, yeah. Stalin though was brutal. Have you guys heard of the Bones Road, whatever they call it? I can't remember what they called. I can't remember what they called it, guys. That's it. The R50 Colma Highway is called the Road of Bones because it's this road in Russia. This road in the Soviet Union is called the Road of Bones. Basically, 250,000 to roughly 1 million imprisoned people were forced to work on it, and a lot of people died. It's a massive road, and a lot of people died on it. At least 130,000 people do it, and basically some of the bones went into the road, which is why they call it. It was a road built on permafrost, so that's why they call it the Road of Bones. The popular rumor spread through the Western and dissident accounts is that says that the interment into the fabric of the road was deemed more practical than digging new holes to bury the bodies of the dead. So they put the bodies in the bones. They put the bodies of the people that died because of obviously how cold it was into the road. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, they call it the Road of Bones. It was built to the Gulag, so they had to build a road to the Gulag, which was like a detention camp. Basically, a Gulag was basically the same as a concentration camp. But yeah, the fact they call it the Road of Bones because they reckon hundreds of thousands of people working on it died, and it was because of how costly it was. They opted to instead build. They opted to instead just stick the bones in. Yeah. Well, the UK did that once. The UK have done that once. The UK government only do that. The UK government only do that in strikes. So they buy the equipment. They buy like the X amount of equipment so they can sell it to the companies to keep production going. If there's like strikes or price problems, it happened recently because of Trump's tariffs. Because of Trump's tariffs, it meant a couple of companies were struggling because they would send stuff to America. So the UK government basically bought out these companies. But then as soon as it all calmed down, they sold it all back to the companies, which is it's an okay way of doing it. But then authoritarian governments scare me as well. Well, governments that don't question what their leaders doing scares me as well. Governments that don't question what their government's doing and I don't agree with tariffs are an interesting one. Tariffs are useful if the country you're trading with is dodgy, but if they're it's an interesting one. Tariffs on everybody is useless. The way I see it though, tariffs are a good idea. But sometimes though. So but splashing loads of tariffs on all these countries, America think it's a good idea, but it does hurt other countries' economies. It does hurt other countries' economies. It hurt Canada. It hurt Canada when they did it. It hurt Canada when they did it and things. Yeah. Having like 5% tariffs kind of work, but splashing 50% is basically brain dead, because it doesn't just hurts the company you're targeting, it also hurts you. So when they put those tariffs on initially, food prices went up. I don't know though. So he tried to put tariffs on the UK though. And literally all the Prime Minister did is have a word with him, then he took him off. But it's an interesting one. As a business, as an economy thing, it's good, but then it can hurt if you do too high. It can hurt the consumer. And America and Canada should be the closest of allies. They're literally bordering each other. Well, actually, Canada might not be strong with America actually, because Canada and America should be quite close because they are literally bordering each other. That's what made me laugh when they said about Canada bringing drugs into the United States. I'm like, but how many drugs from the United States are ended up in Canada? I'd argue probably the same amount. It's an interesting one. But they shouldn't complain about drugs coming into countries. Do you know why the UK government don't give a shit about drugs coming into the UK? Everybody on here, do you know why the UK government don't care about legal drugs entering the UK? I found this out last year because a guy in my college class mentioned it to us. Do you guys want to know why the UK government don't care about illegal drugs coming into the UK? Because after they're seized by the police, they go to medical places. They take all the bad shit out of these drugs, and then they go into medical supplies. So some of the medical supplies that you get are illegal drugs that they've seized and they've taken all the bad shit out of. It's really interesting. I'd say America has had good presidents, but America's probably had good presidents, but the American media will always say they're bad. It's like the British prime ministers. All the British prime ministers, the media will always paint them out as bad. It's the same as like. But having tariffs on every single country though is ridiculous. Like, you know, America put tariffs on a fucking uninhabited island. So fucking penguin. They fucking tariffs penguins. It's weird. Oh, yeah, we're good Thanksgiving. We don't do Thanksgiving, guys. We don't do Thanksgiving in the UK. Thanksgiving is we invented it, but we don't do it because it's not a thing. So my next holiday won't be my next holiday is not until Christmas. So that's my next holiday, guys. Christmas. Yeah, the UK don't do Thanksgiving. It's only really the United States that does Thanksgiving, I think. Because it was invented by the British colonists over there. And we just hit 7,400, guys, so thank you. But yeah, what was I going to say a minute? Yeah, tariffs are good. I think the UK's got tariffs on people. Yeah, that's what America said, but I'm a little bit dubious of that one. I was personally, when I heard about that, I was more thing by when America said that, I'm convinced that America said that to try and hide from the humiliation. That's like Australia. Australia went to war with fucking birds and lost. Have you guys heard of the Emu War? Where basically the emu populations are. Well, Battenberg's a place in Germany. There's a place in Germany called Baden-Baden. Battenberg's a place in Germany. I have no idea. Oh my god. Just dropped the controller on my foot. Thank you to the people who subscribe. That's lovely of you. We are 100 subscribers off hitting 7,500. I don't think we're going to hit it by the end of the end of this month though, because we've got 4 days. But yeah, thank you everybody. Are we still doing that series that I told you? What series was that? I can't remember. What series was that? I can't remember. I just need to get a drink, guys, because my throat is a little... My throat's a little dry. I'll be back in a second. Right, I'm back. Sorry, my throat was really dry. Horrible sight. They were taught to pressure people into the negotiating table. That kind of works, but pressure... I don't like when people do that. I don't like when countries use quite illegal means. So that was going to happen a few years ago. France was going to put tariffs on stuff, and Donald Trump called Emmanuel Macron and basically threatened him with a 200% tariff on French wines. And then Macron basically said, "Oh, you can't do that," and Trump said, "Well, I'm writing it now." And of course, France went and unpassed a law to go and do that. This is when Trump was in his first term. I think that's abuse of power. Tariffs aren't illegal, but yeah, Donald Trump stopped Macron from doing that in 2017, from putting tariffs on something. And what Trump did afterwards on the phone with him, that would be illegal, because that's technically extortion. That's technically bribery. Talking on the phone onto a country and forcing them to change a law is actually abuse of power. That's what Trump said in a speech that he did last year. If they had the copy of that phone call, that probably could have been damaging for him. If they'd have actually caught that phone call, that would have been damaging. That would have been like what happened recently. Vietnam, for example. Was it Vietnam or Thailand? Which country was it, guys, that went to war recently? No, I don't think it was America. I think it was Mexico. I think they wanted to tariff stuff from Mexico. It was an interesting one. But a few months ago, a phone call got leaked between the Hun Sen of Cambodia and the Prime Minister of Thailand. Or was it Vietnam? Whichever one it was. I know it's Hun Sen, the President of the Senate. Oh no. It was his son, Hun Mane. Cambodia war. Cambodia, who are they fighting? Oh, they've had recent border clashes with Thailand. Was it Thailand this year? Yes. Yeah, so basically Thailand ousted their prime minister because there was a phone call between the Cambodian prime minister and Thailand where basically he was ordering her to do stuff and she was saying yeah, yeah. So Thailand ousted their prime minister because they thought that the prime minister of Cambodia was doing something illegal, whatever it was. I mean, I know what it was, guys. I can't think of the right word to explain it other than making her a puppet. Like, for example, what the president of Belarus said about the UK the other year. You know, Britain was America's lapdog. But then the same could be said about Belarus and Russia. Which was an interesting one. Yeah, what was it? Yeah, the president of Belarus a few years ago said that the UK was America's lapdog. And the same could be said about him and Russia. That he was Russia's lapdog. The same could be said. I find it hilarious. I mean, some people, they say stuff, and then you're like, why am I so slow? They're fighting each other, so I think I've skirted away from that one. But I think tariffs are I can't say reciprocal. Can't say the word. But it's an interesting one with them. Tariffs are, but they're more of a protectionist standpoint. They're more of a protectionist thing. Joe, you're at 7.4k. I know, I saw that. Yeah, hey. We're 600 subscribers away, and my birthday's a month tomorrow. Yeah. I can't say it. There's a couple of words that I can't say. What's his name's in it? I can't say it. They're a very protectionist now. The one thing I will say though, guys, on that point, on that standpoint, the one thing I will say about America though, America have got a good leader in terms of economy. America's got a good leader in terms of business, because you know Donald Trump's a businessman. He runs the US like a business. But as an actual human being, and but being a president of actual people, that's where I don't think he's very good. Reciprocal. I can't say it. Reciprocal. There we go. I can't say it. Like Hercule. I can't say the guy's name from what's name, Agatha Christie's books. Hercule Poirot. I can't say it. Let me type it out. I can't say the character's name. Hercule Poirot. I can't say it. This character, guys. Hello, Red Top Toucan. This character, Agatha Christie's, one of Agatha Christie's characters, Kenneth Branagh's recently played him. Hercule. I can say Hercule, but I can't say the last name. Poirot. I think Poirot, but I can't say it. Poirot. I'm more than halfway from live streaming. Cool, congratulations. I'm just a little bit above halfway to 8k at the moment. I'm a little bit below halfway to 8k. I'm 600 away. Hi, Otters rule. Cool. Otters do rule. Yeah. Yeah, literally. Poirot. Yeah, I could never say it. I could absolutely just never. That's the one line I could never say. It's like there's a line in Doctor Who that's really hard to say. The Doctor Who, There's a line in Doctor Who that they couldn't say. Like, it took Simon Pegg 15 attempts in Doctor Who to say this. The mighty Dragonfress of the Holy. Let me just let me say it. He had to. The Jagrafess in Doctor Who, literally, like, Simon Pegg had to take about 12 attempts doing it, and it was the mighty Jagrafess of the Holy. I can't fucking. Let me say, the mighty Jagrafess of the Holy Hadrodrasic Maxendenerafo. The mighty Jagrafess of the Holy Hadrodrasic Maxenrodenfo. Ridiculous name. Right, guys, try and pronounce it. Guys, everyone else on here, try and pronounce this Doctor Who villain. The mighty Jagrafess. Look. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it in this stream. Try and pronounce this, guys. It's such a ridiculous name to try and pronounce. This is the name. This is the really one of the hardest names. I can't say the end bit. Maxarodenfo. Maxar Rodenfo. The Jagrafess, or as they call it, the Jagrafess. Doctor Who. Literally, guys, try and read that out. Often shortened to the Jagrafess. Sure, I'm yawning a second. Oh, I'm gonna end this stream in a minute, guys. My throat is really sore, probably because I did an hour. I did a nearly hour and a half stream before this. So I want to thank every single one of you today for joining this live stream. I don't know, my throat's gone really sore. So I want to thank everyone for watching this stream, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. So have a good rest of your day, everybody. We will be back stream bright and early tomorrow, so thank you, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one.